Okay, back to nature this week. We're going to build out a rose. It's a very simple build, so it's good for people who are just, you know the basics of Nomad and you want to go a little bit further, and you can end up with some really cool plant dioramas and plant scenes with very, very few minutes of modeling. So let's dive in and make a rose. So the first thing we really want to be doing is having a look at what a rose looks like. So let's go up to our background, and we'll leave the background as grey, but we'll overlay an image. So we'll just bring one in from photos. So I just grabbed the first thing on Instagram that I could find, on Pinterest that I could find. And that's all of these roses. So what we'll do is we'll scale them. So I'm in the background, I'm going to go scale, and I'll just stick it over here to the left for now. And I'll move that around as we work. But I basically just want in my background there something to give me an idea of where we're heading with this. Obviously we want to make a single rose first. So this is the process that I use. So the first thing I do is I take the default sphere that we've got. You don't need to colour it at all, but I like to quite often just colour it to the kind of thing that I'm going to make. So this is going to be a rose. So I'm going to go pink, force paint all, and that'll do it. I'm just going to rotate the HDRI around a bit. So remember, 3-finger roll, and you can roll that light around. And we're not going to worry about the lighting at the minute because we're just making some stuff. So let's have a look with wireframe on. So at the moment, it's the default sphere that's just been subdivided. So we don't really want that. So we'll come up and we will change. Let's have a think about what we want to change. We want to go to voxel, and we want to do a low remesh, so about 150. And then it's the same kind of density there, but it'll give us something to sculpt on, but we'll make that a bit lower in a moment. So that'll do for now. So the first thing I want to do, let's establish where the grid is. So turn the floor on. So I know that's the floor. So I want to start making these kind of, the initial inner part of the petals. So I need to make one petal and repeat it around a center. So, and we'll make them thinner as we get out, and I'll do one, and then we'll show you what I mean. So I'll just use the gizmo for a moment, scale it down so it's quite thin, like so, not completely thin. You can see me there on the little camera. You can see me moving the light quite a lot at this early stage. So I might actually brighten it up a little bit for you. Just put the exposure up on the HDRI. Or pick a different HDRI maybe. Let's have a look. No, that seems okay. That means we can see it. Now what I want to do is I want to bend the first one around a little bit. I'm going to use just the move tool now. Symmetry needs to be off because this needs to be quite random. Make it a bit more square at the top, and then make it really small on the screen, and then I'm just going to pull it out to the side like that. And that gives me the initial part of the bend. There's nothing like bend deformers or anything like that needed here, like you would get in Cinema 4D or in Mesh, in Maya, or in Blender. You're just doing this by like raw polygon tool, raw sculpting tools. So that gives us like one very initial shape to work with. And I'm going to go, if I'm thinking that that's the world center right there in the middle, this is going to go around that center. So let's just take that as it is. And I'm going to decimate it down again, or voxel remesh it, whichever you want. Doesn't really matter at this stage. If I was to decimate it, I'd come to this fourth tab and I'd go, give me just 10% of the triangles and decimate. If you look now, it's a lot lower. And that's enough for what we want at this stage, and we can live with these jagged edges. It's not a huge problem at this stage, because we will be changing it in a couple of seconds. So we'll come back to our sphere. We'll rename the sphere to petal, and we will just simply duplicate it and rotate it. So we're going to rotate it around the axis like so. You could move the pivot point. So the pivot at the moment is there. What would be nice is if we put the pivot, hit pivot top right, move the pivot there, and then you can just rotate it like that around the central spindle, or even move it while you're doing it. What we're doing is we're just making the initial central core here. And this is going to change in a moment, because what we're aiming for is this bit here. So we're going to pull it around and mash it around a bit now. So this one needs to be a bit smaller but taller. so it sticks up in the middle like that. And then the last one of this central bit, we'll bring it round, make it a lot smaller, bring it into the middle, and we'll actually rotate that in a little bit. So I'm trying to make this closed in bit at the center. Now, what I've got to do is work backwards now on the ones that I've just done. So I'm going to pull them in a little bit like this. I'm just keeping them going round that sphere. And the next one, it's in, but it wraps round that one. Again, you can be a bit erratic with this because it's got to look like nature. So what you want is a bit of randomness in there. And then the next one, I'm just tapping on the one that I want to work on next, like so. If you're not sure which one you're on, you can always, as you know, put outline on. An outline, you can see the white outline there. Whichever one you tap on will give you, it'll move to the next one that you want to go to, or you can just select it in your stack here in the scene stack. So we've got that one turned off. So we'll move this one next. Moving it around this central core, like so. And we're not worrying about painting or anything at this stage. This is all about just shape of the petal. So we don't want to even think about any of the texturing or anything like that at the moment. So I'm just working through each one just to make sure it's in the right sort of place. That one's fine. So just this last one here, and which was our first one. I just want to bring that in a bit like that. And that straight away has given us, if you look at it zoomed out a bit there, maybe that light is too much now. So let's knock that back a little bit, like so. And I'm actually going to change it yet again. I want to warm it up a little bit with something. So yeah, that'd give us more like this one here at the bottom. So that's looking fine at the moment. It's good. So what we now want to do is start thinking about how this petal here is just straight up. Now as they get wider, as they get out near the edge of the whole flower, then they start angling out. So I'm going to duplicate that. We'll leave that one as it is, but we'll actually go back to our scene menu and we'll duplicate that one. And we know now that we just want to roll it around, don't we? So move that pivot again somewhere logical, roll it around, and it's on the outside of this one, but we can then move this one. So what we might want to do is just go with a smallish move brush. We're going to move this inside that. So it's each one really wants to be tucking inside the previous one. And then while you can still see down here, you want to be thinking about what you could see when you look down. So that looks about right. So this next one here, the one at the bottom that we talked about, I will, before I do anything else, I'm going to duplicate that one again and turn that one off and save that at the top. I just want that as a default petal that we don't see. So we'll now work on this one. And then because it's low poly, it's easy to work with. So I'll move it out a little bit. And then I'm just going to mask it. So I'm going to use SEL mask with mask rectangle. And I'm going to mask it across the top like that. I meant to do it the other way, so I should have done that. So I just use mask, hold the mask and tap, and it'll invert it as I did there. And if you want to smooth that mask down, so you just basically hold on the mask button and tap the mask, and that blurs it up, which basically means the mask has gone all the way up to the top like that. What that means is I can just use the gizmo and change the pivot to about here maybe. And then I just want to rotate this around like this. Not a lot, and I'm going to scale it a little bit and move it around a little bit, but it's good to get a bend in it like that. Once you've got, oops, I moved it off to the side there by mistake. Once you've got that bend in it like that, or at least a bit of a bend, then you can come back and still with the mask on, you can then move the underneath, which gives you even more of a bend, like so. And that's emulating what you can see here on the rose. As the rose turns, you get this little curl at the top of the petal, and then you get quite a little bit of erratic shaping, as you'll see in one moment. So we'll get rid of the mask. So control that was a ZBrush command, hold mask and strike up, and then move it in a little bit, and then let's find move again. One tip that I will tell you is I would move the tools you like a lot to the top up here. So I always keep the gizmo at the top. You'll probably have yours at the bottom, but always move it up because it's one you will be using all the time. Just going to put a bit more of a bend in that leaf. And now I'm just going to make the edges a bit more erratic every now and again. So small brush. Now you see there it's starting to fracture, and that means I'm too low poly now. So let's go, and we'll go up to our scene menu again, up to the multi-res and the different ways of affecting the mesh menu, and we'll go, you could do multi-res and just hit subdivide, so we've gone up one res, or you could voxel remesh it again, totally up to you. Let's just see what happens now. You can see now it's still not brilliant, look. So it's still too low poly for me, that is. So what I think I'll do what I said is we'll go to the next one, voxel remesh, and we'll do it at about 200, remesh it, see what happens, and then you've got more mesh to play with again. And you can decimate it lower when you've finished all of your work, obviously. So now when we do it, we're going to get a bit more of a smoothness to it, and you can smooth as well there if it's, if now you start messing with it and it starts giving you problems. But now you can start thinning out this edge, putting some erratic kind of, a little bit of a wobble in the edge where you think you need it, and that'll give you some reality as you get going, as you get deeper into it. One thing you can also do, and I did this when I first did a rose, is if you use the crease tool and then small size, and just put some creases in here to show that like almost like striations coming out, and smooth them back a bit because you don't want them too harsh, but it just gives you an indication of it going in like this. Again, don't take any time over this, don't worry too much about this, because a lot of it will be lost, but it can every now and again catch a bit of light or just show you a little bit more of the rose detail. Let's go back up to the top, use move, bring it in now, and then what you always want is this side to be much further in than the other side. That one's looking good, so we can duplicate it. You could decimate that now, but I'm not worried about this. If you're conscious about your polygon count on your iPad, now's the time to start thinking about keeping it lower and lower as you go. So let's move our pivot roughly to the center. No accuracy to this whatsoever. Move it in like this, and it's off center a bit there, so we'll make that a bit bigger and a bit more round like this, down like this, and we'll make that bigger but not quite as tall, and then use move again, and then you shape that one. So that one will be going in as it comes round to here. And I'm going to change it a little bit with smooth. I don't want any chance of it looking like it's the fact that it's a repeat. Like so. And down at the bottom here like this. Try not to have anything crossing over like here. Just make sure that, if you do, then move either that one or the other one. So, just looking at it in all different angles now. Got it a bit off center there. You can see that would have been a problem for us. Move it around. What's it like at the side? I'm going as fast as I can now because I don't want to take too much time on this for you. So the next bit, I'm just going to repeat that bit. So I'm going to time lapse this little bit. Because it will be quicker if I just take 20 seconds time lapsing it for you. So just watch me just adjust this and add more roses. So I'll be back to normal speed in a moment. So all I'm really doing is, although it's speeded up, you can see it's taking the petal, and just duplicating it, rotating it and scaling it a little bit. Now you can sculpt new petals here if you want. I'm doing repeats because it's just simple for this part of the tutorial. But if you want to go, if you want to take some time over this and do, have a good look at your reference and really focus on the shape of the petals on each one, then you'll improve the quality of your model, quite a lot. You know, I don't want to take that much time in this little video, but it's very, very, you know, the more you put in, the more you get out. So if you want to make it, you know, a bit special, and it's something that you really want to use in a your show reel or something like that, or in a commercial job, then you probably would want to make each of these as a separate and make them a little bit more random. Okay, so we're back from the time lapse. Now what I want to do is, we've got the core shape now, we've got enough of a shape. I'm going to add a light, so we'll just do light, click on it, we'll make it a very light colour, maybe even a light blue, just to change it a bit. We'll change it to spotlight, and then we'll move that spotlight up, and then make sure it's on the centre, just literally popping the light right down there in the centre of the flower. And we'll hit it again, and we will up the intensity, make it blow it out a little bit, the softness and the cone angle, so it covers the whole plant. And that just gives us a little bit more lighting to, you know, to play with. Now let's just change that center a little bit. So let's go all the way back to the center here. We can keep that to first hidden petal out of the way, because that's our spare when we need more. And let's just have a look at the first 4 petals like that. I think it was it first 5. I seem to be missing that first one. Oh no, we've got it there in the center. So that's all of them selected, like so. We'll simple merge them. Now they're 1, and duplicate them. And we can make 1 more, if you see, like so. And that's a complete duplicate of that. And we rotate that around this way, and scale that down, and scale it up. And that gives us a much more detailed center of the rose. And we could have done that really early on, but as you get going, you'll see that, you know, there's opportunities to do things like that. And that's just make sure it's sitting perfectly. And then if you use the move tool, you can do either this, which is a single, you know, you're moving the single petals again, or if you want to, if you come up here and go to your stroke and go down to the bottom and hit turn off connected topology, and now you can move the whole of that one, you know, whatever's on that one set of models there, and it doesn't move the individuals, which is much more useful for that little bit. And that's fine. Now we've got enough of a rose to be going on with, so what we'll do is we'll select all of them, and we'll simple merge them. You could save at this point, to give you a, opportunity not to lose your model. Just look for any issues like I've just spotted here. Make sure you go back and turn off your connected topology, because everything's in one now. So we're only going to be able to move individuals now like this. Just make sure you haven't got any like oddness going on anywhere on the flower. Keep checking that light. That's good. And now we can just start playing with some color, because it's all one model now. We can just go to our paint, and we can go to any of our alphas. So just pick anything that's got a bit of randomness in it, really. So I'll just use one of these dotty ones, and I'll just pick up a dark pink maybe, like so. And instead of doing this, which would paint on it, what I'm going to do is come up to the top here, and we'll use grab dynamic radius. Bring the light round again. Let's make it even lighter. So, hang on, let's try different lights for a minute and just see what they look like. These are the different HDRIs, remember, so these are changing the way the scene is lit. Just moving it around and checking it. Yep, that looks good. And then if we paint now or drag now, you can get some really nice effects on the petals now. Now, I'm not actually using reference here. I'm just going a little bit crazy with the alphas and the paint. So now you want to really think about reference. So you need to be thinking about what looks good on the plant. Do you want anything stripy like this? And I find the stripy, if you make some stripy alphas, it can add some really nice striation effects. You can see there they can look quite good. There's a lot of that going on in plants, a lot of veination and a lot of anything that adds something that looks like either veins or vascular tubes, or in a plant what they call the veins that they have what's called xylem and phloem, one that brings the water up from the roots and ones that bring the all of the nutrients around, passes the nutrients around the plant as well. And then let's put some white in there. Always be thinking about real life. Do your research on the thing that you're making is advice I give to everybody. Just figuring out some randomness here. Let's put some yellow in there. I'm getting a bit crazy now, but let's just have a go. And you can see there you can change it quite significantly, just with those colours and paints like that. So I'll go back to maybe I won't use grab dynamic for this little bit. I'll just use the dot again, and I'll just flood fill the pinks. A lot of it now is layering over the top, and one over the top of another. And just be mindful that you won't always get through to the center, so you might have to go in and paint in between the cracks like this. So hopefully that's got you up and running with making the actual flower part of a rose. You can take it to the next level. You can add tubes and then make the stem. You can then start adding things like leaves with planes or make them more sculptural. And we're going to cover a lot more of this in videos in the next few weeks, and also in a new course that we've got coming out soon. But the process is very much the same as it was with the petals. So if you can get to that level, then you can start working this sort of stuff out for yourself. And once you get up to layering out a full plant, it looks really cool. And we've gone a little bit further. The thing you're seeing on screen now is the Beauty and the Beast rose. So it's a great way to show off what you've made under a nice glass dome right there in Nomad. So have a go, take it to a little bit of a further stage and see what you can come up with. I really hope you're enjoying the videos that we put out, and if you are, please give them a thumbs up. It does help us to get in front of other artists who might like this kind of content. We've got lots of courses, don't forget, and the links are all down below. And if you like what we're doing and you've given us a like, then please subscribe to the channel and we can let you know when we're posting new content.